Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Today's video is going to be a spoiler review of Dangerous Lies, which just dropped on Netflix. Now, one of the only reasons why I was excited to see this is because it's got Camila Mendes in it, and she's one of my favourites of Riverdale. But I'm not gonna lie, I was very skeptical going into this because the films I've watched Camila Mendes be, the Netflix films I've seen her be in, have been very mediocre or bad. The last one I saw was The Perfect Date, and really, like, her role was not really that great in it, and the film overall was not that great. So I was kind of just like, I don't know going into this. You know, I want to be excited, I want to be hyped for it, but I just had this feeling that it was going to be one of those films. Is this film bad? Yes, but it's watchable. It's that watchable type of bad. It is that bad film that you put on at that sleepover when you don't want to watch something serious. It's a bit funny. It doesn't really make sense, but you're along for the ride anyway. It's definitely one of those films. So let's just get into the plot. Now, initially, I thought the plot was interesting, but again, sometimes these plots can just come out being very stupid, and it's about this couple that inherit money from the person that they were caring for. You know the old saying, more money, more problems, and these problems see us through and come to a height in this film. So the film starts off with Kamilla meeting her husband, Adam, at the diner that she works at, and very instantly they hit it off. Within like literally 5 minutes of the film, they're already married and are living together. Now, in the beginning of the film, obviously there was that incident with the whole robbery situation where Adam stops the robbery, and even though they had kind of addressed it in the later half of the film, I'm still not really sure if that was needed or that was necessary. I'm still not really sure what that really had to do with the story. So yeah, do let me know what was that meant to be about, because in terms of what my understanding was, it was meant to like throw suspicion on him, but I'm still not really sure if it really served much purpose in the film. Obviously, we see them as a married couple. They're kind of students, or Camilla's character, Katie, wants to go to school but can't afford it. I believe Adam has gone to school, has gotten some form of a degree, and is trying to get a good graduate job, but is not working in the meantime, and they're struggling for money. Now, the first thing in this relationship that was just like, is why are they married? Why are they married? They can barely afford to keep up with their apartment, but yet they've somehow managed to come into a marriage. And then secondly, I mean, they didn't really seem that loved up to be married. I just thought it was very strange that they were married, but okay. I don't think they built their relationship up a bit for me to believe they're in love and decided on young love and to get married, despite their lives being a mess. But yeah, what did you guys think about them kind of suddenly being married? Do you feel like there was a lack of development there, or do you feel like you could believe it? Let me know what you thought. Katie is pressuring Adam to get a job because she's like the only one paying the bills, but he's kind of just like, oh, you know, me getting a minimum wage job is not going to do any good for us. And I was just like, girl, how are you married to somebody who you're begging to get a job? That is your first mistake. And why are you allowing him to be unemployed for 4 months? And you are here hustling. You want to go back to school, but yet you're out here hustling for the both of you. Katie, how did you get in this situation? Ladies, I gotta know, are we entertaining these type of relationships? Because me, I could never. Begging your husband to get a job. No ma'am. So instantly I was just like, I don't like this husband because he's lazy and he's a bum. Obviously he gave his reason, and I was kind of thinking maybe he didn't want to get a regular minimum wage job because it would remind him of that night where he stopped the robber in the diner, and there's maybe some trauma from that. But again, it was just kind of alluded because obviously Katie was like, oh well, things haven't been the same as they used to be. But again, they didn't really touch on the fact of whether that was the real reason why he didn't want to go get a minimum wage job. I feel like I would have respected his character a lot more if that was the case. But it just kind of seemed like to me he was lazy and he was happy to have Katie putting things on hold and busting her ass hustling for both of them. Me personally, I couldn't date someone, let alone marry somebody like that. But ladies, let me know. So Katie hooks him up with a job with her carer, just doing gardening work and stuff like that. But it's kind of like they have to keep it hush hush because the agency that's given her this caring job has like a strict policy against family members working together. So she has quite a good relationship with her carer, Wesley, or Leonard. I'm just going to call him Wesley, the old man. I'm calling him Wesley. So I think that's what his name was. So she's caring for Wesley. He's rich. He kind of just needs help with his medication and stuff like that. And they become very close. He starts helping her out. He gives her some money. And obviously that whole scene when she was cashing the check and she suddenly saw that he'd given her way more than he usually gives her. So he's helping them out after she told him about his money problems. When she was like, oh no, I'm not going to cash in this check. Oh, I can't do it. I personally don't understand people like that. Like, I just would have called him up and been like, thank you. I mean, like, if a sweet old man wants to give me some money, why not? I mean, like, she's been a good carer. I feel like she deserved that money. $7,000 is obviously a lot of money, but this guy has a lot of money, so this $7,000 obviously wasn't anything for him. So I never get that kind of, oh, I can't take this old rich man's money, I feel bad. I just don't understand that, especially when you're struggling to pay your bills, you're busting your back, your husband is lazy, your husband can't be asked to get a job, so now you're stressed out working, but some sweet old man gives you 7K and you don't want to take it. I don't buy it. Well, what do you think? Do you feel like you would have felt like if you were in Casey's position, you would have felt like perhaps you had guilt tripped him into giving you money and felt bad and felt like you should give it back? Or would you just be like, well, thank you, Wesley. Darling, yes. And Adam, obviously, the bum with no money, is just kind of like, let's just cash in the check. He's giving you the money. He sees he wants to help you out. Let him help you out. She's obviously resistant. And he's basically just like, look, we've got bills to pay today. Let's just pay the bills, and then if anything, we'll just refund the remainder of the money. And I was like, he's smart because he knows once it gets into that joint account, which I'm guessing that they have, he's not going to give that money back. And I was just like, Adam, you're smart. But then at the same time, I was kind of thinking, because I already knew what was going to happen at that point, I was thinking, I think we're going to have to keep our eyes on Adam. But what did you guys think of Adam in that moment? Do you feel like he was just being a rational, smart human being? Or were you a bit suspicious of what was to come from Adam in regards to money? Obviously, then Wesley dies. When he died, I didn't really feel anything for him. His kind of introduction and then ending was a bit rushed. There wasn't really much time for us to develop any sort of relationship. And the chemistry between Katie's character and Wesley's character was lacking anyway, so I didn't really care that he died. I was just kind of just like, well, what's going to happen next with this money? So obviously Adam literally has no fucking shame. He's already looking through this dead man's belongings. And you know what? I didn't expect anything less from him. Obviously, Katie is just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, that is so rude. And he was just like, let's have a little look-see-loo, you know? I ain't gonna lie, I probably would have had a little look-see-loo as well, especially since Wesley apparently had no family, you know, I might have to have, I definitely would have had a look-see-loo. And obviously they end up finding that 100K stash, and they're kind of just like, well, what should I do? He hasn't got any family. If the police find this money, they're going to keep it for themselves. So it's kind of just like, are we going to let this money go to waste? Now, me personally, I would have took some money. I'm not gonna lie, I would have took some money, but I wouldn't have taken all of it. 100k spend was a bit suspicious, especially because even though he said he had no friends, he had no family, you never really know. There could be a relative that pops up, there could be a brother that pops up, and if they come around looking for some money that they knew that he had, it's going to be problems for you. So I think I probably would have taken 20 grand and just spent it in cash over the years, maybe invested in some things. I think taking the whole lot, I think, was an unwise decision. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like if you were in that position, would you have taken the money? Would you not have? Because obviously Katie, again, she was having that moral issue of we shouldn't have taken his money, it wasn't ours to begin with. Do you feel like it was wrong for them to take the money or not? Or do you feel like, you know what, he's dead, he's got no family, better us than the state? And if you were to take the money, would you have taken the whole thing? Or would you have taken a portion of it? And if you were only going to take a portion of it, how much? And what would you spend it on? So obviously this whole money situation, I knew it was going to be a problem. Maybe some people were going to be after it, or maybe they would be called into suspicion, because obviously she's only been in the carer for 4 months. He's died. It's going to look dodgy if she's now going around with all of this money. And the first thing they do is they deposit it in some bank. I'm not sure if it's like an official bank or it's one of those banks where, you know, you can do dodgy stuff. But they deposit it somewhere that has a paper trail, which I thought was stupid. And I thought, this is going to get them in some trouble later down the line. They should have stored it somewhere. Obviously, they're probably thinking if they store it in their house, someone's going to probably come inside their house and rob them. So it's best to deposit it in some place. But I'm not sure how those things work, if like police could have access to it, you know. But yeah, I just thought the whole depositing in a bank was unwise. Well, how do you feel like they should have hid the money or put the money? Where do you think they should have put it? I feel like they should have maybe a storage unit or something, just some place that wasn't a bank, some place that didn't have a paper trail. So then at Wesley's funeral, which Katie organises since he hasn't got a family, a lawyer turns up out of nowhere and says that Wesley actually does have a will, and Katie is the sole benefactor of his whole estate. So in theory, the 100k in the house was hers anyway. But obviously now it just looks a bit sticky now because she took the 100k illegally. So now I was just thinking, well, maybe someone might try and screw her over and take the house on the grounds of that illegal transaction, even though technically if she hadn't done it, it would have legally been hers. And of course, suspicion as well. It just looked hella suspicious. The caregiver that's only been there for 4 months is now suddenly the heir of the person that they were caring for estate. It looks dodgy. Who I thought was going to come for her was probably going to be the police. I thought maybe a family member out of the blue might pop up. And I thought maybe potentially that real estate guy would try and find some dirt to get them kicked out of the house. And this is when I thought, okay, he was a bit rough, he was a bit dodgy, but he was still a legal real estate agent. This is when I thought that. But yeah, I think most of us knew it wasn't going to be no plain sailing business. So in terms of them having everything, they've got the house and everything, the money starts to cause issues for Katie and Adam. And we saw that coming. And I saw that coming because Adam, he's been lazy. He's been doing work for 5 minutes and then his wife comes into money. So I was just like, Adam is probably just going to be very greedy and very entitled and just want to spend all of the money. And, you know, the first thing Katie's talking about is settling debts, you know, making sure that they can go to college and stuff like that. And he's just talking about, we need to buy cars, we need to go on holiday, and just very materialistic. And he just kept saying, I can't go back to the old life that we were living. I mean, the old life when you were lazy and not doing shit. And I just think it was very cheeky for him, considering it was Katie doing all of the grinding. He wasn't doing anything. He was just on his job hunt for 4 months. So I just thought it was hella cheeky. And I knew there was going to be some problems with the money, and I knew it was going to be Adam maybe spending conspicuously. And I knew that that was probably going to cause issues for them police-wise. How do you think you would have spent the inheritance money? I think I definitely would have taken Katie's approach first, and then maybe one or two luxurious holidays here and there. But, you know, like I said, investing, stuff like that, being smart with the money. But at that point, I would have been hated to have been married to Adam, because it's clearly, because it would have been like 50-50 at that point. They have a joint account, and it seems like Adam just has all of this access to the money. I was thinking is that she definitely should have had, you know, some money on the side for herself, just as a safety net in case Adam just went wild. It kind of seems like she just kind of let him have access willy-nilly to the money. Adam is just those typical people who come into money and just will spend it till there's nothing left and then be upset when he's bankrupt. So like I said, obviously we knew this money was going to cause problems, and the cop that is involved in this film just keeps snooping and just sticking her nose in shit. And before, she kind of seemed like a nice cop, but then I feel like she was just a little bit sarky. Like some of the way that she was talking to my girl Katie, it was just unnecessary. It just kind of felt like she was just coming for Katie like unnecessarily. I really didn't like her characters. I was just kind of just like, just let them live. Just let the poor girl live. The old man is dead. I had a very condescending vibe from her, and Katie is good, because I just kind of feel like I would have been like, well, what are you trying to say, girl? What are you trying to say? Stop beating around the bush. But at the same time, of course, I can understand what it looks like. The guy she was caring for 4 months has died, left her all his money, and I only found out about this whole will situation after she told me that there was no will, after they've already cremated his body, so I can't even exhume his body to see if he really died in his sleep naturally. So yeah, I can understand that, but I just feel like women supporting women, I just feel like the hustle. Could she not see the hustle and just support, you know? Why's she gonna be a hater for? I don't know. I feel like I would have let it. I feel like as a cop, I would have just let it go, you know? But what do you guys think? Do you feel like the cop was right to investigate because this very dodgy looking situation? Or do you feel like she should have just let it go? Let me know what you think. And then obviously the caregiver as well. The caregiver, I don't even know why the caregiver was hating so much. Like, he was hating like he was an actual known relative of this Wesley guy. I kind of feel like the caregiver was jealous of Katie coming into money, because even when he came round, he was very condescending. It kind of just feels like he already had it out for Katie. And then obviously now she's living better than him. I feel like he was just like, nah, I can't have that. And he just wanted to ruin things for her. I don't think he actually cared about that old man. Why do you think this caregiver was so obsessed with ruining things for Katie? Is it because he generally thought that Katie was taking advantage of this old man? Or do you feel like he was jealous? Because even if he did generally think that Katie was this evil person who killed this innocent old man, he wasn't very convincing about it, in my opinion. The acting, obviously this house, there's a lot of secrets going on. Katie's looking around the shed or whatever, and she finds a dead body in it. So she goes and tells her husband, she says she's found a dead body in the shed and he has diamonds. And the husband is just basically like, yeah, I knew the dead body was there. So he knew the dead body was there and he didn't say anything. And then Katie was like, okay, let's call the police. And he was like, no, let's not call the police, so then we can keep the diamonds that he had. Because he kind of figured out that he was involved in some sort of heist or whatever, and he had been using the shed as a hideout spot and ended up dead. So there's no point giving him in, because then we'll lose the diamonds. And I was just thinking, you guys have got this big house and you've got like 100k, and you've got near enough 100k. So you are already suspicious for Katie and for Adam, because obviously Adam was working there at the time of Wesley's death as well, and he shouldn't have been working there in the first place. And now they've got all this money together. So what's it going to look like you now shifting stolen diamonds? How are you even going to shift these stolen diamonds? I was just thinking, Adam is a mess and he's stupid, and Katie just needs to dissolve of him. Katie wants to call the police, and he's there grabbing the phone out of her hand, And I was just like, girl. He was like, he's going to take care of it. He's going to take care of the dead body. And I was just like, is it ever that deep to be taking care of dead bodies for diamonds? Granted, they're worth millions, but diamonds you're going to struggle to shift and are probably going to end up in jail trying to shift them. So at that point, I was just kind of thinking, if I was Katie, I think I would have called the police on Adam, because it's just getting crazy at this point. It's getting suspicious at this point. She knows, she kind of knows the police are going to find something. So it's better for her to get ahead of it rather than for her to just be waiting out till the very end, till she's arrested and put in a cell. So I think at that point, I would have called the police. But what do you guys think? Do you think you would have not called the police and just rode it out with your husband, Adam, even though he was making some very stupid decisions, some greedy decisions, unnecessary decisions? Or do you just feel like it's time to call the police? Let me know what you would have done. Police. Me. Police. Police. Then there's a whole second drama when the caregiver, again, I'm not sure what is wrong with this caregiver. He decides to break into the house. What was he going to do in the house, please? And why did he think it was smart to break into the house? And why was it that deep for him? He should have just let the police do his job. I'm not sure what he was trying to do here. Maybe he was trying to get in and steal something and being like, well, I'm going to need this to keep quiet. Obviously, Adam's awake. He's got a gun. They scare him and he falls down the stairs and ends up dying. They call the police this time, and obviously his death is ruled an accident. But yeah. I just thought it was very strange, and even now it just doesn't make that sense. Even if you really didn't like Katie's success, it's not that deep. So I'm not really sure if I can believe someone would go to that lengths. As I said, he's not a relative of Wesley, so yeah, it's just a bit strange. Let me know what your theories are. Then I feel like the last half of the film is where it gets to a height. And usually with these type of films, these kind of bad thrillers that don't really make sense, it all comes to a height at the end. And Adam has now been called into question. Obviously, there was this whole suspicious storyline with him being involved in the robbing, which I just didn't think made sense. He got a call telling him to come to the station. That turns out it wasn't from the station. And at that point, I didn't really know who it was. I'm not really sure why this was necessary. The cop is saying, he went to the same school as the person that robbed the diner that night was cleaning at. But then again, why would he try and stop him to the point where he's putting him in hospital and him getting caught? It didn't make any sense for him to be involved in that. And then there was the whole suspicion of him actually killing Wesley for them to be able to inherit all of this stuff, or for them to be able to steal the money, because Katie figures out that somebody messed with Wesley's medication. Now, that is a theory I didn't think was necessarily far off. Adam was the one who found the money. Did he find the money, or did he re-find the money in front of Katie? Because if he had found the money in the house and was like, this guy is rich, we can steal this money, he's got no family, no one would know, then that could be plausible for him to speed up the process of Wesley dying. And then the fact that he was just so thirsty for money all of the time, it was believable. And at that time I was thinking maybe he did do it. So then Katie, everything is coming to a head. She just is seeing Adam in a different light now. Everything, all of the things that he's done is just kind of playing on her mind. The cops are closing in, and she decides to go speak to the lawyer who delivered the will for advice. And the lawyer is basically telling her that Adam is going to throw you under the bus. You need to get him into the house and call the police and pin everything on him. So they go to the bank together to get the 100k. The 100k is gone. So now it's just looking very suspicious to Adam. So Katie goes home. Adam is there, but he's packing up for them to run away together. And then I was kind of thinking, well, that doesn't make sense, because if he's going to try and pin it on Katie, why would he be having all of their money to run away together? Something is not making sense. Then we find out that the real estate agent is not actually a real estate agent and was actually an accomplice to the dead body that was in the shed, who was to the dead body that was in the shed in the whole robbing situation with the diamonds. And I was just like, oh, because I thought that he was that gardener that had disappeared, that was coming back to buy the house or something, or try and bully them into giving him the house for a cheap price. That's what I initially thought. And even still, I'm just kind of thinking, this is all very weird. I'm not really sure if I'm buying this story. This is all very weird. It kind of just feels like a last minute storyline to me, because I feel like they introduced the whole Eric Gardner person being a robber far too late into the story. So I was just like, okay, I'm not sure if this makes sense. But then it's kind of like, well, makes sense. But then Katie kind of realizes that it wasn't Adam that killed Eric, and that Adam is not this horrible person who killed Wesley, and that Adam isn't this horrible person because it was actually this Hayden fake real estate guy by switching up his medication, and he was the person that Wesley was hearing at night. So this Hayden guy finally strikes, breaks into the house, and there's a shootout between him and Adam, and they both end up dead. Katie is really upset by Adam's death and kind of feels bad for thinking of him as this horrible guy, but I still feel like he was a trash husband and she was better off without him. So I didn't really feel any like emotion or sympathy or connection when he died. Like with his greed, this was definitely coming for him. But I think the most ridiculous twist in this film was the lawyer. Again, I'm just thinking, even now I'm still thinking, how did that make sense? How did this make it into the script? So obviously the story with the lawyer is that there was no will to begin with. She had made it up, but she was saying how it still looked legit, and how she was working with Hayden, the fake real estate guy, because she was his public defense lawyer in prison, and he had told her about the diamonds and he was going to cut her in this deal. Because the criminal lawyers and the type of lawyers that deal with wills and inheritances are different types of lawyers. I think they need different training, different qualifications. Who is going to pay for those qualifications to get some diamonds that they're not even sure they're going to get? What lawyer, educated lawyer, is going to agree to that deal? Who is going to do that? And what educated lawyer is going to agree to a deal to get illegal stolen diamonds? How are they going to flog these illegal diamonds? Why would that be an investment worth making if you are a lawyer who is educated, and a lawyer who is educated in the criminal law? How does that make sense to be a part of this stupid deal? I mean, she has to be the most stupidest lawyer. How did she even get her degree, let alone her qualification, if she thought that this was a viable plan? And we are meant to, as an audience member, believe this. That whole twist was stupid. And then the lawyer who's trying to steal some diamonds, who is now going to kill Katie because she knows too much. It was just a whole mess. We knew she was going to die. We knew that police officer was going to kill her. And also, with that lawyer being dodgy, I think she was the one who actually called Adam into the station to make him look suspicious to Katie, so she could run with this whole narrative that Adam is the bad guy trying to frame her. That's what my theory is. But do let me know what your theories were on who called Adam to the station. And then I guess it was just a matter of what happens next with Katie. Is the cop going to press charges? Because, Katie has been involved in a lot of felonies. Then we see 4 months later, it seems like the cop has gone easy on Katie and has let her keep the house. And I'm guessing let her keep all of the inheritance and everything and the money. Which again, I feel like is very unrealistic for somebody who was so antagonistic and condescending. Why would they let Katie keep the house and keep the money if she knew all of this was dodgy? That doesn't make any sense unless, she cut a deal with Katie and they split the money. But again, the ending didn't make sense. I'm not really sure why she was pregnant. I'm not sure what that was meant to add. Like it was like, oh, well, Adam's sperm has lived on. It just seemed very stupid to me, honestly. So I think overall the narrative, it's poorly written. It is. A lot of it doesn't make sense. I did find it entertaining, but it was dumb. It was quite dumb, I have to say. But it is watchable. It's one of those bad films that you love to watch and you love to take the piss out of. In terms of the acting, I feel like the acting was okay. It wasn't amazing. Some of it was a little bit cringy. Some of it was a little bit cringy. There was literally like no character development whatsoever. I don't really expect much from these type of films, but I would have expected a little bit more. I think we could have seen a little bit more of Kamilla because, you know, she is a great actress. I think she definitely could have used a bit more direction. The directing was very lax, and I think maybe it's because the director read the script and was just like, the script is so horrible, it's going to be a bad film, but I need to pay my bills, so let's just do it. That's what the directing was screaming for me. But I think overall, for the most part, they did a decent job with the material provided, but it's not their best acting job. There wasn't really an outstanding performance in this film, in my opinion. The cinematography was pretty decent. Most Netflix films are decently shot. Soundtrack, I don't really have much to say about it. It wasn't really that memorable. In terms of the pacing of everything, I feel like it was very rushed, this film. At the same time, I do think it could have been concise because even though the narrative was rushed, there was a lot of empty spaces sometimes. They were very short, but there was quite a few, but there was a significant amount of empty spaces where I'm just like, okay, what is going on here? Like when Katie was rummaging through the attic, that bit could have been concise down a bit. The bits where they try and build suspense, because I feel like they kind of fail because we kind of know what's going to happen because it is quite predictable. Kamilla, another disappointment. I just want her to stop picking these films and these movies because I feel like she is a talented actress, and I just feel like if she keeps signing on for these bad films, she's just going to be one of those actresses that is constantly in bad films. I'd really like to see her break out into critically acclaimed, be involved in projects that are well written. So yeah, Kamilla, if you somehow stumble upon this, I want better for you, sis. A check is a check, but I'm going to need you to start making better decisions. So in terms of whether I would recommend watching this film, you know what, I would, on specific circumstances, what you are looking for. If you're looking for a bad thriller suspense film that doesn't make any sense, but is watchable, unserious film that you can laugh at, take the piss out of, it was absolutely ridiculous, but it was rather enjoyable. It's not my best ridiculous film that I've watched. I definitely preferred Saving Grace. It does have a bit of a Saving Grace feel to it. It's one of those films, but if you're somebody who's looking for a serious thriller suspense film, this is not your film. If you're looking for something a bit light, unserious, something you can take the piss out of, this is your film. So I think overall I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Just about. It's not the best film, definitely could have been better, but you know what, hey, I watched the whole thing. It was bad, but it was that good type of bad. So I think it does deserve just about a 2.5 out of 5. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you thought about the film. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know what your theories were. Let me know what bits didn't make sense to you. And let me know what you would rate it out of 5, and of course let me know what your thoughts were on my review. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to press that notification bell so you know when the next review is dropping. Till next time guys, bye.